Welcome everyone, my name is Kat from The Yin Method, and in today's yoga pose tutorial we will be going through saddle pose. So this is a pose that has lots of different variations, and you always have the option of using as many or as little props as you need or you want. So being really mindful in this pose of our knees, and we're being really mindful of our lower back. So I'm going to show you the pose two different ways. The first will be with no props at all. The second will be using a bolster and two blocks, but you can of course use anything you have at home or on hand to support yourself in this pose. So saddle pose itself, I would usually sequence this pose in a class where I'm doing a spleen stomach class. So really getting into the front superficial line of fascia in our body. I might also sequence it in a class where I'm doing kidney urinary bladder class, but I don't do that as often. But you definitely can do that, especially if you have people in your class who can do the reclined version and they get a really nice stimulation of the lower back where the kidney and urinary bladder meridians run through that area. So first, with no props. So it's really great to come into this pose from hands and knees. I like to bring my knees up behind my wrists, start moving my ankles, my feet wide, so that they come wide of my hips. And then for me, I have the room and the depth to be able to sit down between my feet. Full disclosure, I did do this pose yesterday. If I hadn't done this pose for a while, I might need a bit more support here to start opening through the fronts of my legs again and work me slowly down into the pose. If you need to, you can place a blanket underneath the tops of the feet, which can be really helpful just for that pressure that does sometimes get on the tops of the feet here. So this is saddle pose. You can stay upright. We're looking for this opening through the fronts of the thighs. If you're not feeling much, or if you want more and you want to start getting into the fronts of the hips, maybe the belly, we'll start by tucking our tailbone under and just come back to our hands and see how we feel. From there, the next option is to keep going down to our elbows, always checking in with our knees, checking in with our lower back, bringing that tailbone underneath us so it's nice and supported. And then from there, if you still have space, if you still need more, maybe you can come all the way to your back. Your arms might go overhead or out to the side. It can also be nice to have one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart space here. So that is our full version. To come out, we use our hands, we tuck our chin. Maybe you roll to one side, maybe you just gently press yourself all the way up. Move slowly, support yourself to come out of the pose. Take as long as you need. Unravel your legs when you're upright. And as always, make sure you take a rest. So you can just sit upright as you rest your legs and then come to your back. Once you're on your back, you can have legs long or knees bent. Just make sure you let yourself rest. It's a big pose, so take as long as you need. All right, with props. So there's lots of different ways you can set up your props in this pose. I'm going to show you my preferred way. It's a really beautiful, supportive way to do this pose. So the first block will be on its lowest height, and you're going to be sitting on this block. The second block will be about where it might sit at the bottom of your rib cage on its medium height. So just like I've got it set up here, you'll then grab your bolster or other support, and you'll place your bolster behind that first block. So this one's a bit too close. We'll move it a bit further back. Behind that first block, and then let it come over that second block so it's supported. From there, we come into saddle the same way. So, hands and knees. Feet come wide of your hips. We let ourselves sit down on that block. Shimmy ourselves back so that we're nice and close to the bolster. And so you can see how I've got more space here. I've got more space in my knees. I've got more space in the fronts of my legs. And again, you can stay here sitting on your block. If you've got space to go back, we tuck the tailbone under, stay sitting on the block, And maybe you come all the way down, and you can see now that this block underneath the bolster is supporting me here. You might need to put something under the head area of the bolster too to support you, because you can see that the bolster does sometimes bend a little bit, but just go to where you need. This is a beautiful option. So the same thing when we come out, tuck your chin, use your arms, and either roll to one side or just gently press yourself up in your own way, in your own time. So that is saddle pose. Another variation here that I didn't mention at the start is just doing half saddle. So you can do this pose with props or without, with one leg straight and one leg bent at a time. As usual, make sure you take your rest after each pose. Find the props and use as many as you need to support yourself in your practice. And I'll see you again next time. Bye.